planning system is one of the few mechanisms the city has available to help create a change in the climate and the local environment. So through planning policies and strategic planning of the city over 10, 20 years, you can begin to plan in a really holistic way and make all the policies work together. So you can think about how the transportation has to become more environmentally friendly, but also you can use policies to help create more environmentally friendly solutions for the building of new buildings in the city, but also retrofitting the existing buildings. So it's very important that you begin to build up so the city can begin to cope with the changes. So start with small steps in terms of policy and begin to improve on those and make bigger steps as the years go by. So the city has, cities are so important in terms of the local climate and local environment, and cities really are responsible for the people that live within them. So it's important for the quality of life for the people in the city, for the health of the people in the city, and also the economy. So businesses and investment wants to come to cities that are caring about the environment. Many big businesses now who want to come and locate in cities, their shareholders need to know that the city is future-proof and is resilient for long-term impacts. So we see events like mass flooding in Thailand, where cities have located factories and manufacturing facilities, and the floods there mean that the businesses have to close down. So it's really important through the planning process that the cities begin to think about how the climate is going to affect the city at every level, housing, commercial, industrial, and how they can begin to develop policies to adapt for that climate change. Bogota already has an amazing bus rapid transit system in the city, which is very popular and works very well. However, with the growing population, more people using the system, it needs to expand further, or other transportation systems need to expand with it. So to think about how we might expand bus rapid transit in cities is really important, but also how we can maybe introduce other methods of mass transit, such as metro system or other rail-based systems, is also really important. And it's very easy to convert some of these rail-based systems into environmentally sound technological solutions. Also, it's important that the buses and the bus rapid transit system are also environmentally friendly. Densification is an important policy consideration for cities, and every city needs to find its own solution to this. Cities are dealing with increasing populations now, so they have to find ways of dealing with that, and sometimes by building up is the only way. But there's many benefits to building high density. So the cost of developing infrastructure is much more viable, because if you're developing infrastructure to a wider geographical area with lower densities, you've got lower people using or paying for that infrastructure. So it's much more expensive to extend your infrastructure out to a wider geographical area. So there's lots of things to consider to get it right, and it's got to be right for the culture of the city and the people, but also it's helpful if the people understand some of the benefits to living in a more dense city. And there's lots of good examples now around the world where higher densities are working really well in cities. Mixed-use development actually has growing importance in many countries around the world. I work in London, and one of our policies for developing in the city is to develop mixed-use communities. So that's really about housing next to commercial and leisure and education, so that you have small communities within the city. And the benefits for these are multiple. So you have people that live and work close to the same area, so they don't have to travel long distances to get to work. This helps improves the quality of life. It helps reduce congestion and air pollution in the city, because more people are walking or using sustainable methods of transport like cycling to get to work. It also helps with people, if they're shopping, they have everything they need in their local community, so they don't have to get in their car and travel long distances to go shopping. It's also considered good practice to help mix different parts of the social environment. So we have policies in London that help promote private sector housing along with social housing. The cities also have a lot of responsibility for delivering housing and meeting the needs of everyone in society. And we have different experiences in Europe how to deal with this. And something that's happening now in London is developing policies to help meet some of these requirements. A lot of studies have been done to show that actually if you mix different types of community, crime will reduce. So one of the things that we've done in London is to develop a policy that requires all new development to build a proportion of what we call social housing. So people who can't necessarily meet private sector rental levels, or people that can't afford a mortgage in housing. So this was introduced quite a number of years ago, and it was introduced very slowly. So if a developer was building new houses on a site, 10% of those houses had to be built for social housing purposes. The policy has developed now, and in London, if you want to build a housing development, 50% of the houses have to be for social housing requirements. And actually, as a response, the city is a much richer place because people are in housing now. You don't have areas which are really as much deprived as they were before, because actually people have roofs over their heads and places that they go home to. So actually the social standards improve with more social housing that is built in the city, so everybody benefits from these kind of policies.